Okay, so today we are going to be talking about how to turn your Solidworks models, this 3D thing, into a drawing. So if you don't remember from our first lesson, the point of a drawing is basically to communicate your idea to somebody else in kind of like a sheet of paper, a PDF, something someone else can download if they don't have SolidWorks or they don't want to look at a 3D model. This is particularly useful for things like machinists, so if you're sending your thing out to be made by somebody else, then a drawing is a great way to convey your needs to them. So the first thing that we are going to do is have our part file open. You can do this without having your part file open, but it's nice and easy to do to translate our part into a drawing if we have it open already. So we're going to go to File, Make Drawing from Part. And again, I'm sorry you can't see the menus. I will try to fix that at some point. So File, Make Drawing from Part, and you'll click on that and it should open a new menu. Now what it's gonna give you, let me add this window so you can see it, is a window that has some options for you. Let me try to find it. There we go. All right, so we've got all of these different kind of standard sheet size. So generally A4 is going to be really similar to a size of US letter paper, so I usually go with A4. Generally ANSI is the standard that I have used, ANSI. This is 8.26 by 11.69, so it's just slightly longer and slightly thinner than a US letter size paper. You can also do a custom sheet size and do like 8.5 by 11, but for today we're just going to go with A4, close enough. I like to do landscape. I feel like for most things it works better. So once you're good there, you're going to press OK, and it should open up something that looks like this, right? So this is your page. Now you can see in here, right, it says the title of my okay, sorry, it's not showing my cursor. Let me see if I can fix that. There we go. So right here we can see it is showing the title of my drawing. It has all of these other places where you can fill things in, drawn, checked, approved, right? So this is for people who are actually really making these things. And there's all those extra fields for that. You can add text into those places by using the annotations, right? So you can add a note or something and kind of fill it in, click and type and be like, this is the title. There is also, and you can just delete it as well, there probably is a way to actually just add into there directly, but honestly that's not something I use a ton. But the main thing that these are used for is actually we want to put in your part in a way that makes it easy for someone else to understand what it is. So if you go up here, we'll see we have a standard 3 view. So now this is a way to put in our model from all sides. So I'm going to choose chair. It will open up the open documents right here. You can also browse if you don't have your part open and you've just started a new drawing. Okay, so here we have our standard 3 view. So basically, can you see how this side view is connected to this main view? So this right here is my main view. Woo! And then these are connected to it. They can't move independently. This can only move up and down. But basically, what this lets us do is it gets kind of like the main sides. Most things that you're gonna, that you're gonna need are going to be available in the standard 3 view. Now you can also do a model view and come over here that seems unhappy. Yeah, so here I can, if I click on these arrows, I have my item selected, and then I can choose like, oh, I want like this particular view. So for example, if I want an isometric view, which is one like that kind of shows it from an angle so you can really see how it kind of looks, you can do projected true. There's like all of these different options. You can make it so that it is shaded with edges or just shaded. So depending on how you want this to look, or you can also create multiple views and you can click on which ones you want. So there's a lot of different options for how to bring things up. But in this case, please select a named view from the list below. Okay, so we'll do a trimetric view, and see now I can go over here and then I can click and see, look, this is what my chair actually looks like. So that can be handy sometimes, just to give the person an idea of what it's going to look like kind of from a normal view. But the ones we're actually going to work with to give them let's pretend we're sending this out to someone. The ones we're actually going to work with to give them information about our part are these kind of views that look a little bit more plain. So we're going to go into annotations, and we're basically just going to smart dimension the heck out of this thing. So for example, I know that these legs are 24 inches, right? So I can add that there. That's an important measurement for them to know. I know that this top bit here is 24 inches. I know that this here is 3 inches, and this here is 18 inches. And you can see how this is like, okay, this is getting a little bit hard to read. So you want to be thoughtful about kind of how you're putting these measurements in so that you can kind of layer them in a way that makes it easy to be able to read your document still. So for we also want to put in something like this, right? So that's 2.58 inches. This is 4.92 inches. And again, you can move them around once you've already set them. And we want to try to make it from one reference side as much as possible. So rather than kind of like filling in all of these different things, or even kind of going some from this side, some from this side, generally as I'm going over, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this measurement, and then I'm going to do this measurement, and then I'm going to do this measurement, right, and kind of continue over that way. And then I can leave that last one right here, because they should be able to figure out from the fact that this is 24 inches, this is 2.58, this is 4.92, and this is 3 inches, then those are basically they should be able to figure it out from there. So this is 3 inches, and this is, you know, not the neatest one I've ever done, especially with this pattern on the back. There's kind of a lot to note, and I bet there is probably a way to say that like these three things are the same, and part of a pattern. Let's see. But at least in this case, we're just going to leave it how it is, right? So we have the width of these three things, and you know, one way that would actually probably make this a lot easier for them to read is if I start with the 2.58, right? So this distance right here, and then I tell them, okay, this is my next one, so this 3 inches, right? That's that width, and then I have this 4.92. And then I have that 3 inches, and then I have this 4.92. Right, so this way I'm kind of like, as they go across, they can see which numbers go with what. But the goal is to make it so that everything is dimensioned. And like I said, if they can figure it out from the other things that you have from, you know, a given reference side, then you don't need to, so for example, I don't need to put how big this width is, because they can figure that out. But for the most part, you want to have pretty much everything referenced. Now, we can see this drawing is really crowded, right? We've got all of these different things on it because this pattern is so intense. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take this 24 inches and I'm going to say, I'm not going to put that on this drawing, right? Because I can easily put this on this drawing right here. And that feels much less chaotic. And I can put the size of the seat on this drawing right here. Again, much less chaotic. And I also remade this chair because I forgot to save it, so if your measurements are slightly different than mine, that is why. I want to let them know also the width of my material, so don't forget to put those widths in. Same thing here, so I want to put this width. I'm going to do it. Let's see, I can just scoot this out a little bit more. So then I'm going to escape from this so I can kind of drag this out. See, I have a little bit more space there. Same thing here. I might just drag this a little bit down. There we go. That's much better. So I have a little bit more space everywhere. I'm going to go back to my smart dimension. And then let's say how wide those legs are. Now this is the side of the legs. I also want to let them know how big the front of the legs are. So I'm going to add this dimension here. Let's see. So we already handled the thickness of the back. We haven't handled the height of the back. So that's 23 inches because the 24th inch is part of the thickness of the seat. Let's see. I think that's just about everything. So we have the pattern fully dimensioned all the way across. That seems good. We have the height of the pattern as well. We have the height of the back. We have the width of the back. We have the thickness of the back. We have the chair seat. We have the chair seat thickness. We have the chair legs. We have the chair leg thickness on both sides. So this to me looks like a fully dimensioned drawing. Now you can do like the dim expert or things like that. I personally don't like to use those. I feel like it puts things in annoying places and I don't like it. But you can feel free to play around with that a little bit if you want. There's also a lot of other things that you can do in here. So for example, one thing that can be useful is doing like a section view. So this is something that we did in our our cup model, right, where we said, oh, like we want to see just part of this, right, like kind of like inside view. I can actually do this on here, so I'm going to undo this in just a minute so you can follow along if you would like. But what this is going to let me do is see now I have a section of the inside of this chair. So I can see like here is the empty space, here is the solid space, empty, solid, empty, solid. Now this isn't particularly interesting for our chair, but for a different model that could be useful. You can also break out sections or do detail views. So for example, again, if I wanted to, please sketch a circle to continue. Okay, cool. So we will, let's see, I want to show the real detail on this, and see now I can show this broken out section. So there's lots of other features in here that you can use. But the main things you're going to be doing in here, the main things I've done, is just kind of dimensioning things. Now, something that we haven't talked about yet is tolerancing. So tolerancing is super, super, super important in engineering. Basically what tolerancing means is kind of deciding how good is good enough. So, for example, if you've been in my engineering class, your tolerances are probably like a 1/4 inch. If it's like within a 1/4 inch, you're probably calling it good. But for some things, it's really, really important to have close tolerances. There's a lot of different fit sizes, for example. There is a loose fit, which is basically kind of something where it fits in loosely, or a free fit, or a medium fit, or a transitional fit, or an interference fit. Where a loose fit is kind of just like, it just kind of goes. An interference fit is like, you need to take a ton of pressure to actually fit these parts together. Now, some of these tolerances can go down really, really small. We're talking like thousands of inches. So you all aren't going to be doing that. That's normally for more intense applications for like metalworking, press fit kind of things, but it's still good to know that is a thing that people do. So right now we aren't actually using tolerances, but if I double click on here, I can see that I have this tolerance and precision readout. So right now it's set to none, but let's say we want a basic tolerance. So what that is going to do is give us something that we can add there. Personally, a bilateral tolerance is something that I find useful. So this will say plus or minus 0.00 for right now. But say that I did want to go with that 1/4 inch tolerance, which is absolutely huge and pretty ridiculous, honestly. If you're having a 1/4 inch tolerance, you don't really kind of need it on there. So what this means is this can be 24 inches, and if it's a 1/4 inch bigger or a 1/4 inch smaller than that, that's fine. We don't care about it. So even within a given part, you will probably have different tolerances. So for example, you might need this chair, like this chair has to be 24 by 24 and be like really close to that for some reason, but maybe the pattern in here, if that's off by a little bit, that's okay. So you can also change right here, or rather here, you can change the amount of precision. So for example, if you want a really tight tolerance, you're going to need more decimal points, and that's where you can change that. So this isn't something we're going to be using today, but it's something that's good for you to know about. Tolerances are really different in different fields, if you're working with wood versus metal, if it's going to space, or if it's just a chair. But it is something that is good to know about. So this is your chair drawing. You can save this just as a drawing, so file, save as, but you can also save it as a PDF. Like I said, this part of the reason that this is helpful is that you can literally just print this out and hand it to somebody. So yeah, great job, and I'll see you next time.